In the last lecture, we have applied the margin equally for all the sides. But in this lecture, we are going to apply the margin individually for each side. That is top margin, right margin, bottom margin and left margin separately. Sometimes in the projects, you want to apply different margin for a particular side. You may want to maintain more space for a particular side. At that time, this technique will be useful for you. So you can specify the properties such as margin top, margin right, margin bottom and margin left. And you can specify any desired number. By default, all the margins are 0 pixels. You can also do one thing. You can specify the margin first, that is commonly applied for all the sides, and you can override it by specifying the margin for a particular side. For example, you can specify the margin as 10 pixels, that is applied commonly for all the sides. So top margin is 10 pixels, right margin is 10 pixels, bottom margin is 10 pixels, and left margin is 10 pixels as you have applied. And you can override the bottom margin by specifying the margin bottom as 20 pixels. So with the help of these 4 properties, you can specify the margin for individual sides. So this is margin top, margin right, margin bottom and margin left. Default value for all the margins is 0. In the codes project, I would like to apply the margin of states individually for each side. So go to the style of state div tags and then apply the margin top, for example 25 pixels, margin right as 10 pixels, margin bottom as 15 pixels, margin left as 40 pixels. So we have applied the margin individually for each side. The same is applied for all the instances of div tags because of the class name, that is state. So now refresh the page. You can notice a margin applied individually for each side. So what do you think, how much space is this? We have given the top margin as 25 pixels and bottom margin as 15 pixels. Yes, it is 25 pixels only. It is because of margin collision. That means it will take the margin whichever is highest among the bottom margin of first element and the top margin of second element. The bottom margin of first state is 15 pixels and the top margin of second element is 25 pixels. So among these two, 15 and 25, 25 is highest. So finally it will render only 25 pixels margin between these two. This margin collision happens only for top margin and bottom margin of two different elements, but not for left margin and right margin. This is all about margin for individual sides.